to become Italy or Portugal because we want to avoid a little bit of pain.
So this is Darwinian survival of the fittest at this point?
I mean, that's a kind of a harsh word, but yeah, it's Darwinian survival of the fittest.
I mean, you're encouraging another Great Depression.
What do you mean Great Depression?
You're encouraging another Great Depression.
I thought we were in one.
Yeah.
It feels like we're in one.
Well, we're in a Tea Party Recession right now. But you're trying to turn that into the second Great Depression so that what, we can have a boom after that? That's sick. There's people out there in America that need jobs. They need to be able to put food on the table. They need to be able to pay their mortgage and not get foreclosed. Is that just a necessary consequence of what you think a well-functioning economy is? Because I think that's just off base from what the majority of Americans think in this country.
Explain to me how you say Great Depression, where the unemployment rate was mid-20s and now it's 8 or 9%, 9.1%. What in the world does that have to do with the Great Depression? It's just silly talk. There's no comparison between the two. In the Great Depression, you had tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people going from city to city looking for jobs where they needed police forces to almost shoot them.
Well, look at these kids out there on Wall Street right now with Occupy Wall Street and OccupyDC and hundreds of cities around the country. They are overeducated. They are underemployed, and what do you get when that happens?
So
you get Egypt. You get to hear square.
So what? Are they
people don't wake up and give these kids some jobs?
Well, they
going to have something like
job.
Egypt here in this
So they're owed a job because they're born? How about work?
Everybody that wants to work in this country should be able to have a job. It's the government's responsibility to make sure that happens.
To get them a job.
Full employment is the government's responsibility.
You have to understand, we had 17 or 18 years, 17 years of uninterrupted economic growth from 1991 to 2008. Any economist will tell you, after a period of growth like that, you have to have a downturn.
And the benefits of those times were monopolized by the top 1%. I don't want to live...
What do you mean monopolized by the top 1%?
The top 1% monopolized the gains of the economy during the time you just talked about, whereas everybody else is going broke.
And concentrated wealth is bad because why?
Your ideas of trickle-down economics are bankrupting this country. And that's a problem because there's a middle class that's vanishing, and that's America's greatest innovation. Is a robust middle class where everybody can have a job instead of kids do a good school.
Time out, because I know we're trickling out of time. I want to get to something else because yesterday the president warned the economy was getting worse. Is he setting himself up for failure? Because before we started, I told you that George Bush in the year 2000 said, we're going to have a recession if I don't get my tax decrease. Now Obama's saying the same thing, we're going to have a depression if I don't get this. I think it's irresponsible for both of those presidents because it becomes almost self-fulfilling when they talk. The president shouldn't talk about we're going to have a recession.
Well, you might be exactly right, Morris. In fact, I think you are. The problem is that he's lowering expectations. That's an old political trick beyond where they should be lowered.
Right.
The tough part about him is he's now lowering them so much, and Ryan knows this better than I do. His base is demoralized to the point where, I mean, they hate him for Afghanistan, they hate him for health care, they hate him for the debt ceiling, they hate him for all things. Ryan's in charge of this. I don't know how you get the Democratic base out to vote. I don't think you do, and I think that's his main problem.
Ryan, you're consoling the president. What would you tell him right now?
I would say he's got more problems right now than the next election, which seems to be what the Republicans are focused on. And they're willing to literally sacrifice our country's economic prosperity for the next 40 to 50
because
years.
Because they won't spend the country broke?
To prove a point.
Because they won't spend?
To win one election. You know, and I think that's just frankly irresponsible.
So you're saying the Republicans...
just reckless. And most Americans know
So
and they're going to punish you with the ballot box for doing that.
Let me get this straight. So you say, your argument is, to not spend several $100 billion more is reckless. To not spend is reckless. That's your argument.
How about this? It's
reckless. Yes or no?
It's reckless to give away tax cuts to the top 2% of this country.
Spending.
While we're going broke.
Okay,
we're going broke because nobody has a job.
Okay,
no one's buying things.
Are you saying that...
I want to get this economy started.
Okay, but here's my question.
So people can go back to work.
Here's the question.
That's what most Americans want.
Focus, Ryan. Your argument is to not spend is reckless. Yes or no?
I think that cutting spending in the middle of a Tea Party recession is going to send us into the second Great Depression, and apparently that's
I'm trying for an answer. I'm trying.
We're out of time. Last word, Jack.
I think that there's very little problem with the United States. I think we should stay on course. I think in a few years, all will pass and a boom will come.
Let's hope so. Jack Burgman, Ryan Clayton with us on Capital Insight. Thanks for your views, guys.
Thanks for having us. I hope so, too.
Protesters who were sick of corporate greed, lack of jobs, and gridlock in Washington have hit the streets, and the demonstrations have made their way to the Hill. The crowds have taken to the streets to express themselves about everything from the economy to the wars. Groups including October 2011 and OccupyDC have taken over Freedom Plaza. They even signed a new Bill of Rights for a new society.
I don't know how much good any of these marches are going to do, unfortunately. But it's letting the world know what the people want, and that's the best we can do.
There are a variety of groups protesting with a common theme: give the power and profits back to the people. If the calls for revolution echoing from Wall Street to Washington and beyond sound familiar, that's because they are. The protests look a lot like the Tea Party rallies that started more than 2 years ago. Tea Partiers were mad about the national debt, and government was the problem. But Occupy protesters are fired up about the economy, but see government as the solution.
Is it time to get crazy out here?
It's time to get crazy, sweetie. As a matter of fact, our nation is getting too crazy in a way that's unhealthy for the ordinary American people.
Both sides are angry, but the remedies are different. The demographics of the protests are also different from the rallies, and let's say they skew to a younger, higher educated crowd. Also tonight,